Greetings and salutations, folks, and welcome once again, as always, to another helping of Mr H's Hot Pot. You join me today for day 11 of Mr H's Florida vlog, or vlog as he likes to call them, and it's currently about 9 o'clock in the morning as I'm making this video. It's a little bit cooler today. As you can see, I've got a t-shirt on. The reason for that, I've got my shoulders burnt over the past couple of days, and as I say, the temperature's a bit cooler. You do acclimatise the longer you're over here. When I first came over here, even at this temperature, I would have been sweating like a pig, but I've got used to the temperature now, so away we go. That's not a gunshot in the background, it's one of those little golf cart type things as the maintenance workers use around here. It's backfired. Anyway, Hot Potters, anyway, it would seem that we have a little bit of debate going on in my last few videos regarding tipping. Whenever I mention tipping in a restaurant, lots of you come on and some of you ask questions and some of you say that you wouldn't tip and things like that. So I think we'll address this, although I did talk about this way back in 2019. Now, Nosy Parker asked me, do I tip in a restaurant because I want to or because I believe that the service has been exceptional type of thing? Well, it's a bit like asking me, do I pay the tax because I want to? It's just part of the system over here, and let me explain. This is my understanding of the tipping system in America. If I'm wrong on any points, please leave a comment below and correct me. But we'll start off, you go into a restaurant and you look at the menu and you see something that you like. In my case, the sirloin tips. And we'll keep it a round figure at $15. That's the advertised price. And you think, yeah, I fancy that. So you go up to the counter and you order it. You'll then be charged tax on top of that $15. Currently here in Florida it's 6% tax, so you're $15 plus 6% tax. Now the reason they tell you the dollar amount on the advertisement board is for two reasons. They tell it you without tax because it drags you in and you think, oh, that's a good price, I'll go for that. And number two, it helps you to work out how much you're going to pay your server in tips afterwards. And currently the expected, the unwritten percentage is between 15% and 20%. So what's going to come out of your wallet when you walk away and you leave the restaurant is the $15 for the meal, tax on top of that, and then between 15 and 20% that you're going to leave to your server. Now, a lot of people out there, Mick Byrne being one of them, have said they wouldn't tip, they'd just leave. Well, what you've got to bear in mind if you're doing that, and I'm surprised at you really, Mick, because you are pretty well travelled and you do understand things. I mean, you've been to more countries than I've been to. You know, you've knocked about the world a lot more than I have. And yet you said you would just walk out, and if you felt as the service was good, you would just tell them, you know, well, it's all very well giving someone a pat on the back, but that doesn't put food on the table, and that is what you've got to remember. If you're stiffing your waiter deliberately on the tip, you could potentially be taking food off their table. Now, unlike the UK, some states do not have a minimum wage. There is a federal minimum wage, I believe, which is currently set at something like $7 odd, but some states just go with that. Other states are more progressive. Florida is one of them. I think California is another. And I think here it's $11, the minimum wage. Now, whether servers get that or not, I don't know. But what you've got to remember is that these servers are on the feet all day. They're working all day. They're constantly going. They're bringing drinks. Some people can be rather obnoxious. You know, you see it in the UK where they feel entitled. It's only the same over here. So they're dealing with people day in, day out, day in, day out. And they are poorly paid. It's just one of those things. So when you walk out deliberately, you could be taking food out of their mouths. So that's something you've got to remember with it. Now, we could have an whole debate here for about an hour about the socialist aspect of why should you leave a tip type of thing. You know, they shouldn't be reliant upon your generosity, but that's just the way it works over here. And I think when you see both sides of the coin, you know, you see how it works in the UK where they don't have the tipping system and basically they get the minimum wage. It does ensure good service. That's what the Americans argue. You know, having the tipping system, it means that your server will be polite to you. I mean, how many times have you been for a meal in the UK? I know I have. You go to one of these 2-for-1 places and you get some young student lass and they're not interested. They're playing on the phone while they're taking you to the table. You wouldn't get that here in America. You definitely wouldn't get that over here in America. And there's lots of little subsystems as well. There's some places where you'll pay for the meal first and then you'll leave the tip afterwards. There's other places you pay for the meal after you've eaten. And I think if your party is over 6, they automatically add the tip to it. You know, they work out the tip for you and they add that to your bill. And then it's up to you to say, no, I don't agree with that amount, and you change that amount. It does get a little bit confusing and it can be embarrassing. Me personally, I don't like the tipping system. Not because I don't like tipping somebody. I simply don't like having to leave the amount at the end. It's like, have I left enough or have I left too little? You know, there's that side of it. And that's because I'm from the UK and I don't understand it really. I mean, I must admit, when I was green, when I first came out here many years ago, I think 2009 was the first time I visited the US. I was green and I didn't understand the tipping system all that well. So we went to a Denny's, and this is something else you need to bear in mind. And I got put in this area, and our waiter was the spits, and I kid you not, of Alf Garnett, you know, Warren Mitchell, the actor. And he came over, started telling us his life story, and that's to sort of build up a rapport with you. And at the end, we left, and I didn't leave a tip. Not because I felt his service was poor, I just didn't know. Anyway, the following day, I thought, oh, it was a good breakfast, that. So we returned to this Denny's, and you saw the look on his face when we got put in his section again. It was like, oh dear, it's these again. He wasn't rude, he was polite, but what he did do, he wasn't all that keen at refilling our drinks and things like that. So this is something else, Mick, you need to bear in mind. If you're going to go round stiffing waiters in restaurants, only eat there once, because the next time you go in, you will have very slow service and very poor service. They're not going to spit in your food or anything like that, or I would hope they're not going to do that. But you won't get good service, simply because they know it's not worth putting the effort into you, because all you're going to say is, it was a good meal that, thank you. It doesn't put food on the table. And that's my understanding of how it works over here. And it's the old thing, well in Rome. You know, whether we agree as Brits with tipping or not, whether we think tipping should only be given because it's exceptional service and it's at our discretion, you've got to understand that there's a bigger picture of how it works over here, and that's why I deal with the tipping and I leave the tips, because I understand that these people, it's part of their wage, they're poorly paid, and that's how they make the wage up, sadly. It's just the way it is. I don't believe, from a personal point of view, that anyone should be reliant on the generosity or the whim of a stranger in 2023. You know, I do believe it belongs in the 19th century, at least, that type of thing. But I'm not an American, so I'm not criticising your system, any Americans out there. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this one up. It's just a quick one today. I just thought I would address the thorny subject of tipping. I believe most Brits don't like tipping simply because it's an embarrassing thing, and like myself, they don't know if they've left enough or they've given too much. I suppose when we see Americans over in the UK and they're leaving massive tips and we say, look at that sob there throwing his money around, they're only doing what they think is right. They would do it back in the US, so they do it over there. Anyway, if you do come out over here, do leave a tip. Don't stiff your waiters, because they do work damned hard. And I'll leave it there. So, until the next time, from myself, Mr. H, who's about to go and fill up his beverage once again, it is bye-bye for now.